All right, guys, welcome in. Fun times await here. It is Thursday night, Phoenix, Arizona. We got a special wild card weekend episode coming up. Playoffs are in full swing starting this weekend, and we got a big first time guest on the show here. So, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself? Give us a little bit about your sports background, kind of who you are, what you do, and we'll go rolling from there.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jared McCauley, better known as, I guess, Mac on Twitter. You can find me at AZ Sports Fiend. That's FIEN. And I'm part of the Redbird Red Zone podcast with Will and Jackie. And you can find us on Twitter as well there at RBR Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify as well. So, I didn't really get into, talking about the Cardinals or writing about the Cardinals until I got onto Twitter. 10 years ago, and it kind of just gave me an itch. I wanted to, always a team I grew up with, and if it came down to it, that's probably the one team that's like my team. I wasn't around before the Cardinals moved here, so as a kid, the Cardinals were that shitty team around town that everyone hated. And everyone loved the Suns. That every bandwagon fan was, a huge Suns fan, but hated the Cardinals. And I've always been a fan of just shitty teams. I guess I don't know. Um, so, so yeah, once I got on Twitter, I started writing articles weekly about the Cardinals and D-backs, and they Redbird Red Zone podcast hit me up, and been with them for about 3 years. We got Jackie on board about 2 years ago. There's never a dull moment as an Arizona Cardinal fan. So, every day, every week, there's always some content, to bullshit about. So, but I definitely appreciate you guys having me on board tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show, Mac. Appreciate it. Definitely, guys, check out the Redbird Red Zone podcast. You can find him on Twitter, and give Mac a follow as well.
Great to have him on.
Speaking
Yep.
speaking about the growing up with just shitty sports teams, obviously Mason, big fan of the Suns here too as well. Went through some good eras, down times as well, but hey, that's typically what sports is all about, right? So. And like you said, never a dull moment. This is probably going to be one of the most exciting. Well, it depends who you ask, right? The Cardinals offseason, because a lot of things could be changing. So, um, with
Yeah,
that
I
being
mean,
said,
starting at the top, Sean Payton, who's our GM. I mean, those are the two biggest questions you need as a franchise. So, yeah, and then from there we have, I think, 25 free agents to be. We have the 10th most cap space, but when you have so many free agents, you're going to have to get creative this offseason. So whoever the GM is, I mean, the draft's around the corner, third pick. So yeah, there's never a dull moment with the Cardinals for sure.
yep, and a top 5 pick to cap off the season. Of course, they did not
Damn.
make the playoffs, but wild card weekend right here knocking on the door. We got Saturday. We're going to be starting with, and I gotta say, there's teams that made it into the playoffs that I feel like now with the injuries, like I tweeted about it earlier. I was like the Dolphins and this I think it was the Seahawks or no, the Ravens, because they're both kind of like without starting quarterbacks. Like who really wants to watch that in the playoffs? I think everybody would have wanted to see like Kenny Pickett and the Steelers, maybe even the Jets just because they're dramatic. But there's some teams that snuck in and are kind of shaking things up. So we're gonna start on the Saturday game. We're going to go through the slate of the games for the wild card weekend, give our picks and analysis and our best bets if we have any for the sports bettors out there in the legal states. So the 2:30 game is Fox, NFC West, Seahawks at 49ers. So we'll kick it off with Mac. Obviously gets to watch these two teams quite a bit. We play them a lot. We get to go there. They get to come here. And we've played some good and bad games against both. So Mac, 2:30 game Saturday, Seahawks at the Niners, and it's a full 10-point spread at this point. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't know how you could go against the 49ers right here. They're with that defense and Brock Purdy jumping in, hasn't missed a beat, even looking better than, what they had at quarterback there with their, QB1, QB2s to start the year. So Brock Purdy and AZ boy too. So while I hate the 49ers, man, I'm definitely going to be pulling for him. I like to see him be successful. And kind of sucks. It seems like the one Arizona guy that Bidwell doesn't bring in here. He brings in Kirk. It felt like there's that time for half a decade. He was bringing in every top Arizona high school kid who became an NFL player. But then you see Brock Purdy doing this thing. But I'm happy for him. That 10-point spread. I mean, Geno and the Seahawks can still sling it a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. But I definitely have to ride the 49ers. And with it being a playoff game, I would probably take the Seahawks to cover personally. There's going to be some jitters out there for Purdy and, just the Niners in general. This seems like it's their year. It feels like even though they have a third string quarterback, you'd think maybe they don't feel this pressure. But it feels wide open this year. So it pains me to say, just watching two NFC West teams, and we're sitting at home.
It's awful. It's
but
the worst.
yeah. So, but I'll take my hat off to Brock Purdy and the Niners, and I'll give them that. And and their fans, I'll bash. I remember growing up going to Sun Devil Stadium to 49ers games, and their fans were in cowboy hats and wife beaters, man. And I'm like, 7 years old, and they're 8 years old, 10 years old, and they're talking shit. So I've always had a hatred against them, Cowboy fans as well. But for that fan base to give JJ Watt that standing ovation as he walked off the field last week too, that was kind of special as well. So for 1 week, I'm rooting for the Niners.
Wow.
Yeah. For 1 week, get a rivals.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I think there's going to be those jitters for Purdy there. 10's a lot in a playoff game. I'm kind of surprised to see it because Geno's been around. He's a veteran. Pete Carroll's been around, Yeah, they lost Kenneth Walker to injury and all that other stuff. I think Rashad Penny's still out too. They're on their third string running back. That's a lot. That's a lot of points to give up. And when you have the inexperienced quarterback on the winning side of that 10, I think you take the plus 10 for sure. 49ers do have all the talent in the world around Brock Purdy.
Definitely.
Make him look better, So that made me think of the Trent Dilfer Ravens, the Brad Johnson Buccaneers, teams like that got kind of far. Kerry Collins Giants, good teams, but didn't really have great quarterbacks. And that's what this 49ers team reminds me of. Mason, what do you got? NFC West, Seahawks at the Niners. Niners are 8-1 at home, believe it or not.
And it looks like Kenneth Walker will be healthy playing this week too. So
nice.
That's something. So yeah, it's nice to see them, as healthy as what they kind of have been over the last, second half of the season. Should be a decent game, hopefully.
That is huge because he was probably one of my favorite running backs to watch. As soon as he hit the field, I mean, I'm a big Seahawk hater myself. I just never liked them. I mean,
right.
My favorite team's the Vikings, and then the Cardinals are right there at second. And both teams just nonstop lose to the Seahawks in the playoffs by horrible plays always. So it's just what I've got accustomed to.
But no, I would go. I would agree with both of you guys here and take the Niners. To me, there's no path that Seattle wins this game. I think if you look at the quarterback spot, it lends itself a little bit more towards Seattle just because Geno Smith has been around a good amount of time, and he really doesn't have much to lose. I think Brock Purdy's sort of coming into that first time where he's going to experience meaningful football late in the season. He has a lot of weapons, but I think Seattle is feeling a little bit better than the national media probably feels like they are going into this game. Many would say this is a team that shouldn't be here. When you look at how the roster's constructed, you factor in some of the injuries. But I do think Shanahan does enough to calm down Brock Purdy to keep the game plan intact. And what you guys said, probably not going to cover 10. I think they win by 7. I would take San Francisco -6.5 and the George Kittle anytime touchdown if I was going to jump into the old FanDuel machine. But I think it should be a good football game for the most part, and they grind this thing out. So we'll have to watch, but obviously, key for Seattle is early. You got to rattle Brock Purdy. You got to generate some turnovers, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, everybody sounds about spot on with that. Get it when you watch these teams a lot over the year. It's kind of you're going to be pretty spot on with your picks. I feel like for the most part. Mac, if you were to take a best bet for this game, touchdown or yards or anything like that, what would be your best bet?
I mean, I think Mason hit on it, that George Kittle anytime touchdown with him and Purdy have that, report seems like so soon into Purdy's career. And that is definitely a good bet. What would be another one? Maybe a Christian McCaffrey touchdown. I think they're gonna, they're gonna kind of showcase him a little bit this week. He's probably the best in-season trade that has happened in the NFL since really, the trading in season has come about. So that's definitely a weapon right there. Where even if Purdy isn't, 100% looking as good as he's been through the first 6 starts, throwing multiple TDs in every game, even if he doesn't accomplish that, you still have Christian McCaffrey right there. So it's I would say one of those two, the Kittle or McCaffrey, anytime touchdowns.
I always like the inexperienced quarterback with the blanket of the tight end to score because that's going to be easier for them to score with. And I wouldn't even be surprised if that most of that first quarter is running with McCaffrey and screen passes to Debo, just so he can get in that rhythm, and then they'll start throwing the ball down the field. But I think those are spot on. I mean, I went Debo on week 18, and then last year I told myself don't bet week 18 because it's just fake. Everything's fake.
Right.
You're gonna get random people playing. Leads are gonna be blown. And I had Buccaneers and they went up, and I'm like, all right, it's comfortable. Brady comes out and they just get slaughtered. I'm like, oh man. So just don't bet on week 18. But it seems like we all got the same bets and same frame of mind for the morning game on Saturday. Now the night game to me is gonna be one of the better games of the playoffs and wild card weekend. Chargers are actually going to the Jags in Jacksonville. Chargers at Jags, and they have the Chargers by 2 points. It's a 1.5 line. One thing that I'm kind of not wanting to happen is if the Chargers lose this game, there is talk that they might fire their coach. And I heard Sean Payton say earlier in the year that he would want to go coach the Chargers and Justin Herbert. And that's kind of best case scenario, Chargers win for the Cardinals' chance to land Peyton. I did learn about Peyton being a ball boy here when he grew up. So that's got to mean something, got to keep him here. But what do you guys think? Mac, Chargers, Jags?
Yeah, to your Brandon Staley point, him playing Mike Williams, Joey Bosa last week. It looks like Mike Williams is doubtful to play Saturday night. If he loses one and done, I'm firing his ass. I'm going in, for Sean Payton if I'm the Chargers owner. I mean, you have Justin Herbert here, and you only have. It's like how I felt with Kyler Murray. You only have so many years before. To get things right. We're entering year 5 now with Kyler. It's a time to hit on this GM and coach and do it right. And the Chargers are kind of in that same boat. Justin Herbert's uber talented. He's looking for his first career playoff win. But right now, I think I would pick the Jags. The Jags just kind of have that, little flair about them. Trevor Lawrence kind of looks like a different man. And shout out to Doug Peterson getting a second chance, and he's taking advantage of it. And 1 year after the whole debacle that happened in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, here they are, which gives me hope. As a Cardinal fan, we could be here talking about the Cardinals, wild card weekend next year. But if I had to pick one of them, I would probably take the Jags money line.
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, it's one of those games. I think the Jags are getting hot right now. They're absolutely getting hot right now. So good pick there. Mason, what are you thinking? Chargers, Jags. They're about equal road and away. 5-4 Chargers on the road, 5-3 Jags at home.
Well, I'm riding the Jacksonville train as well. Shad Khan, if you're asleep, it's time to wake up, man. I mean, it's this thing's coming up pretty soon. And the Chargers, to me, this roster, the way it's built, is just easily a team that I look at where if the health of their wide receivers had been better in not only this regular season, but in recent regular seasons, and then also going into this playoffs, I might view them a little bit differently. On paper, this offense is so dynamic. But obviously, we know the game's not played on paper. Keenan Allen, misses more games than he should. They've got some other injuries on wide receiver that pop up a lot throughout the season. I think it hurts their continuity. That's part of the reason I'm going to take Jacksonville this weekend. But it's also in part that I think the Jags are just more loose. Like you said, this is Doug Peterson's first year. To have them winning at a high level, no expectations, I think is you can't say enough about that this time of year. The Chargers are probably feeling a little stiff. Brandon Staley's nervous. And I just think everything clicking for the right time in Jacksonville. So Duval County, jump in that Jaguar pool, crack a beer. I think it's going to be a fun weekend for anybody that's watching that game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have to agree. Like, to me, one of the, I mean, obviously the Lions had a huge turnaround. But what Jacksonville looked pretty bad. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty bad the first 3 weeks of the season. The fact that they were able to get a hold of it and turn it around mid-season and make the playoffs just speaks volumes about coaching for Doug Peterson and the chemistry that him and Trevor Lawrence have together, because we saw Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence last year. It was bad. I mean, it looked like Zach Wilson and the Jets this year when he came on. Like, it was not good. Yeah, Lawrence kind of struggles in that red zone. I still am not like, when he's in the red zone, he throws some sketchy passes. Like, he will.
Yeah.
But I think Christian Kirk, obviously ex-Cardinal, he's had a huge year. I think he's hit all his incentives with over 1,000 yards. And then, of course, ETN played with him there at Clemson. So there's a lot of chemistry going on there. Ingram's had a hell of a year bouncing back. So I think, Jags are right there. It's going to be a close game. It's a field goal game. Could even go into overtime, but give me the Jags walking away on this one.
Real quick, I just want to point this out because you brought up Christian Kirk. And I mean, obviously, everybody knows, even me, not being a Cardinals fan, I've expressed many times I'm a Cliff Kingsbury hater, so I won't go on a tangent here. But it's interesting to me that Christian Kirk goes on to have his best professional season once he is removed from Cliff Kingsbury's system. And you also pair the fact that with Patrick Mahomes becomes a star once he departs that relationship with Cliff. I mean, in college, nobody gave a shit about Patrick Mahomes. Cliff Kingsbury booted. He gets into a new system. Now he's basically a god. So it's concerning. I think, and obviously that's part of the reason the Cardinals stepped away from Cliff, but it's worrisome when you see guys struggle when he's around, and then he's gone out of the equation, and now Christian Kirk looking like he was worth the money.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was concerned about that contract, but hey, Jags turned it around, so good for him.
And as a Cardinal fan, it always can get worse on Twitter. So my guarantee is Christian Kirk anytime touchdown. Just because Cardinal fan, I just the timeline will keep us busy. Just
everybody's gonna be in shambles,
right? Yeah. Book it. It's gonna happen. Book it.
Yeah, I'm excited though. That to me is gonna be the game of the first round. You're gonna have the Bills Dolphins blowout. Vikings Giants will be close. Somebody will win by a field goal. Bengals Ravens blowout. That Chargers Jags game is that's the game to be locked in on. So that's a 48 total and a 2-point spread. 56 degrees, by the way. Great weather in Jacksonville.
48 total. I kind of like that over, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. 48 with two guys that can sling the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that gives me the edge, Jacksonville's defense is better. Chargers to me. I just feel like they get a rush at the quarterback, and if they start rushing Herbert and he starts throwing those deep balls and starts getting interceptions because Allen can't do something, or Mike Williams, like you said, might not even play, could be a problem. So Jacksonville defense to me is kind of the
X factor. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Dolphins and Bills. It's going to be Skylar Thompson. 28 degrees. Miami going.
I would say I would feel bad for Miami fans, but I lived through Ryan fucking. Can I cuss on here? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Ryan. Okay, Ryan fucking Lindley playoff game. Okay.
Oh man, yes.
So enjoy this, Miami. Enjoy it. You might not get back again, because here I am doing another fucking rebuild as a fucking Cardinal fan for the second time in 4 years. Get the fuck out of here.
I remember that game. Ryan Lindley. That might have been one of the worst performances I have ever seen. I mean, and because Brock Purdy, obviously, like we talk about this, third string guy, he doesn't look that bad. I mean,
No.
Lindley went out there like he had never seen the playbook in his life. Like somebody threw a binder at him like 10 minutes before kickoff, and he's like, "Are these your baseball cards?" Like, no, you should have been looking at this shit last night. So, yeah, hopefully for Dolphins fans, it goes better.
That year, I just want to tell a story real quick. That year, my buddy went to a Cardinal game where Lindley had to start at the end of the year. I think it was against the Seahawks. I think it was I can't remember if the Seahawks won the division or whatever the case it was. Whoever we played, it was a home game, and Lindley started towards the end of the year. And my roommate gets back from the game with his now wife, and this dude's just bawling. He walks in, he's like, Ryan fucking Lindley, we're done, man. He's like, I can't fucking believe it. I'm like, oh, I'm like, what the fuck happened to you? Like, how much fucking alcohol and drugs did you take at the game tonight? You are out of it right now. You're embarrassing me in front of your wife. I'm embarrassed for her. Like, come on, but that's how bad it was, man. Literally, roommate came in bawling, like, I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna go to my room, man. But yeah.
You walk in the living room and just kill the vibe.
Right. Like,
that's something we're gonna have to run a poll on, like how many what fans have broken into tears over their team playing not even really the team, but just being because of the state of the franchise. When get what was the other guy? John Skelton. Man, he was horrible.
You could name off half of Larry Fitzgerald starting quarterbacks over that time. I mean,
I'm a huge Vikings fan, and to me, I mean, there's Jerry and Randy, but I'll die on the hill that Larry Fitzgerald is a top 2, if not 1 receiver. But he got shafted. If you give fucking Larry Fitzgerald the quarterbacks that Moss and Rice had, he would have better numbers, guaranteed.
If he had Montana and Young his whole career, he averaged more catches per game than Jerry Rice did as well. So that's why if he could have played 2 more years, everyone's like, oh, well, he can get another 100 catches or whatnot. But if you break it down game by game, he averaged more. I mean, obviously less touchdowns, not as great yards, but just pure receptions. He's ranked higher than Jerry Rice. People outside of Arizona will mock you, even if you have him like top 5 or if you're arguing top. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, I know everyone loved Calvin Johnson, but everyone just forgets that dude fucking dropped so many balls. He made unbelievable catches, but he led the league in fucking drops. I think he had like 15 drops one year. Like, pure wide receiver, like hands. It has to be at all. You can't put somebody in front of Larry Fitzgerald who has the yips problem trying to catch a ball some season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can make a good argument for Randy Moss up there. I mean, Moss is the greatest player I think most explosive wide receiver like of my time that I remember. And the only reason I really remember the early on is because I think when I was like 10, 12, my dad and I joined our church's fantasy football league. And this is before everyone had laptops and everything. So everyone came out here with their folders and shit, And here I am, 12 years old, and I drafted Randy Moss like in the second, I swear to God, in the second or third round, I drafted Randy Moss. And I probably reached, but I remember him in college. I'm like, dude, this dude's a fucking stud. And all these old heads are just bagging on who the fuck is Randy Moss? They're like flipping pages and shit. I remember to this day. and then we finished second in that league. So yeah, if you guys are still alive, go fuck yourself.
That's amazing to draft. I mean, imagine being 12 years old to pick him up. I mean,
wow.
That's nice.
And it's fantasy. I hate fantasy football so much, man. So it's all gone downhill from there. I love playing fantasy sports, but football in general with all the injuries, man, it's just hard. It's for me. I think it's a lot easier. Basketball guys, guys are going to average in basketball for the most part, but football,
I've had even on the betting side, like just doing. So the game, this was a couple weeks ago. It was a Thursday night game. I think it was like Steelers and Colts. I picked Nyheim Hines anytime touchdown. This is before he got traded to the Bills. literally the second or first play of the game, he gets like speared in the head and
Oh,
goes. into-
you're fucked. Yeah.
I literally messaged support and I'm like, hey,
like read the fine print, brother. Thanks for the cash.
fuck. And they're just like, if a player plays one down and he played one down, I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
That sucks.
Oh, bro, you're on the phone for talking to a FanDuel manager twice a month. I'm like, dude, it's fucking too funny. This guy's always trying to. Oh, fucking.
Hey, the more you know, though. If you don't know those rules, I mean, you're trying to. Somebody else don't know those rules. You're trying to get. I mean, that's money right there.
Because they will, like, they've done it, but they did one on a play when they did like the the lateral backward
at the end. Yeah,
they refunded everybody on that.
Yeah.
So like, I was trying to just see if they would do, because I'm like, that's just. I was hoping like, oh, he's hurt, like it's fucked up for him,
right?
For everybody, like, just give us our money back. But it didn't exactly work out.
Hey, who's the older brother between you guys?
I am about 2.5 years older.
Okay, right on.
So I'm 91. He's 94. You're born?
Yep. Yeah, I just turned 29. Fucking yesterday? Yeah, that's right.
Oh, happy late birthday, man! Happy belated birthday. Enjoy your 20s.
Thanks,
364 more days, man. Enjoy it, brother. Enjoy it. I'm telling you. I woke up fucking sore. I had to go to fucking urgent care today because I fucking something my foot wrong, and I was like, okay. I couldn't even walk. I'm like, okay, just make sure I didn't fucking like a hairline fracture or anything. So, I mean,
right?
Yeah, I'm coming on my 20-year high school reunion. I'm like, I got Facebook, man. I don't need to fucking see nobody. Like,
oh yeah, there's nobody to see in that building.
100%. Right,
yeah,
right. Like, no, I'll see you at 50 year, man. If I'm here fucking when I'm 70, I'll see you.
Yeah, we'll go to.
You know that's a lie too. He won't be there. Man.
Yeah, I don't even think we got on the where we touched on our predictions of Dolphins Bills, because I mean we already know what's going to happen, but then we went down a rabbit hole about everything else.
What's that line at?
It's at 13.5, so you can get it for the 2 touchdowns, which I do like.
I like that.
Yeah, that if the other game is only 10 with Brock Purdy as the quarterback against the Seahawks, and that's 14 with Allen versus Skylar Thompson. Yeah, I like that. I like the over.
Skylar Thompson
the cover.
In 28-degree weather on the road, and they're 3-6 on the road. Bills are 7-1 at home. Like, I think that spread should be bigger. I think if you get it now, you can because it's gonna be 15.5 by kickoff.
Are they saying snow? Is that maybe why low scoring? Or
it does just say it's only a 44 total. Yeah, but it's so cold. I mean, they're showing slightly cloudy right now, 28 and cloudy, but at 44 total, still might like the under, because Bills could score 31. It could be 31-6, 31-3. You know?
Right. Yeah, I like the under with that, with the Bills covering. I think I like that.
Yeah. So
definitely, yeah. Skylar Thompson. And I was talking a little bit about this with my buddy who I work with, is a Kansas State alum and huge fan, but he's played a lot of meaningful football this year. I'm happy for him as a quarterback. I mean, most guys third string don't get this much experience, so I think this has been a good year for him to get out there and sling the rock. But this is just too tall of a task. Snow or no snow, Von Miller or no Von Miller, like you guys said, Carrington 31-6 doesn't sound far off from the truth right there.
Yeah, I don't see a world where they might get a touchdown, right? But I don't know. Buffalo has looked really
Mostert good. Breaking one off or something, or Hail Mary to Tyreek or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go route.
There. There's no path to victory. The one positive, like I said, Skylar Thompson, Cardinals, bring him in as a backup next year, third string, whatever. Like, this is a guy that, he's gotten good reps, and he's not, I don't think he's going to be a starter quality, but you get these many reps this young, you can last a long time. Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick, these guys.
Chase Daniel.
Yeah, stuck around. So
is he a rookie?
I think so. He's either a rookie or second year.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's played at least 3 or 4 games, and I mean, I
want to say he started at least 5, including this weekend, because he's played a lot of relief duty. I believe it's close to that number. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Nonetheless, guys, take that at 13.5. Well, you can get the 14. Take that now, because I do expect that to go up to 15.5. They'll want 2 touchdowns and the field goal by the time kickoff happens. So just watch that. It's a game you probably don't really want to watch. Just bet on it and then do whatever, prepare for the next day. So,
Hey, I ain't doing
Sunday,
shit. I'm a watch. Don't tell my fiance that's not a good game because that's the game of the hour right there, man. Babe, no, just come on,
yeah,
come on.
it's
You know
playoffs.
the rule. You know the rules this weekend. You know what the rules are, right, baby? Okay, yeah.
That's
My foot,
right.
my foot, beer over here. We're good. No, we're good. Yeah, no big game right here. Miami, Buffalo. Yeah, man.
He's been waiting for this all his life. Josh Allen versus Skylar Thompson. Don't let him miss this.
Big time prime time game, right? So, Sunday, obviously, we keep moving on. The 2:00 or 2:30 game is Giants and Vikings. Many only favored by 3. And I know they played tough last time, and Vikings really are. To me, they're kind of fraudulent. Yes, they're my favorite team, but I don't know. They win the games in crunch time. Yes, Kirk has played more clutch. They got, the talent with Cook and Jefferson and Thielen and everything, and of course Hawkinson being added to the team. Loved that midseason acquisition. I think they just got a little bit too much on offense for the Giants and the 8-1 home advantage. But this is a game that I very much expect to go to all of the 2.5. It's going to be a team wins or loses by a field goal. And if the Vikings miss another field goal, man, I'm going to lose my shit. So any different outcome you guys see here? I know they played a super close game earlier in the season, and everybody's expected to go. Jones, Barkley, Vikings are healthy. So you guys got?
I had a tough time picking this one, to be honest. I just because Minnesota plays so many close games, and basically so do the Giants as well. Um, this if I was to pick up one upset, I think this weekend this would be it. I could definitely see Kirk Cousins falling flat on his face again, in the playoffs. And as much as he's kind of put that behind him recently, he's been a hell of a quarterback. These last 2 years, he's putting up really, really good numbers. He still has to overcome that obstacle. It's kind of like Carson Palmer. Until he got to the Cardinals, he didn't win really a playoff game. And even as a Cardinal fan, I never had that full trust in Carson Palmer like I did when it was Kurt Warner, even though that, the Carson Palmer Cardinals were the better team, better record and whatnot, but it was always that wait and see. So it's tough, but if I am picking the upset, I would just do money line Giants. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be close, and maybe it's just me, thinking, fuck Patrick Peterson. But hey, I don't want to see that guy happy. So yeah, let's go Giants.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody's gonna see that, and the bookies are saying 3 flat. It is 3 flat. You're gonna push a field goal, so it's gonna be tough. But Mason, what do you got indoors? Of course, weather not a problem. 4-4 Giants on the road. Look to be
Well,
healthy.
definitely a game that I think probably a lot of people struggled picking. Interesting matchup. Two completely opposite styles, from a coaching standpoint to how they play the game. And if this game was in New York, I would actually be taking the Giants, and I thought about that through and through. But I think the home advantage is huge for Minnesota. US Bank Stadium is going to be rocking. I don't think they need to lean on Kirk Cousins to win this game, which is another reason I think they should get it done. To me, the Giants have really overperformed who they are as a team this year. But ultimately, I'm going to take the Vikings because of their positions, or excuse me, because of their talent at the skill position, the wide receiver spot, and ultimately they've just been really comfortable in uncomfortable situations this year. How many times have they won a close football game? I think they're going to do it again, so I'll go Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I mean, if those games, all of those close games were coin flips, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs if they lost those
Take away
really
half
close
of them.
games. Every game was that's what it was. So that's why I was just suspect all year. 8-1 at home, that's a really good record. So that's why I'm gonna lean that way. But I've seen the Vikings do it to me too much. I mean, going back to Gary Anderson, Blair Walsh, it's missed field goal after missed field goal after missed field goal, and they never get over the hump. And that's just kind of a gut feeling I have, but I know that they have more talent and it is at home. So I'm gonna just ride with my favorite team, win by a field goal. like I said, could even go into overtime. But this could be, your game of Sunday to watch, with the first game not being so great, and then the night game, another backup quarterback. So kind of what I like there. And then touchdown.
Got like a 26-23 feel to me. That's what I can see there.
Oh yeah, real crazy. I mean, it could be walk-off touchdown. Like, I mean, Barkley could bust one for 64, or it could be a jump ball, Justin Jefferson grittying off the field, and that's it. Like, I mean, it's going to be that type of game. It's what I expect when these two teams face each other. So,
how do your guys' matchups go? You're a Bears fan. You're a Vikings fan. When the Bears and Vikings play each other, you guys talk shit. How's that go down? You guys got to ignore each other for the day of the game, or what?
No, we always usually watch it. I would say, I mean, it's funny. I legitimately believe we both go into the game believing our team will lose. Just because of
if you could throw the Cardinals in there in a 3-team game, we would all be like, no, you guys, nope, you guys.
I think I was gonna say, I think usually the Packers are better. Like, usually it's him and I's teams. Like, we just know we're not relevant, and it's like, fuck Green Bay. Like, it would be nice to beat each other, but
the Lions suck usually. Always.
You don't get that serious about it. Yeah.
So they haven't really been good at the same time.
Yeah,
that's another good point.
Yeah, Vikings being good, like with the Brett Favre thing, kind of came after the Rex Grossman Bears. So like, they just haven't really been good at the same time, I guess.
It's a great point. When the Vikings are contenders, the Bears aren't. When the Bears are contenders, the Vikings aren't. So it's hard to be like, "Fuck you, don't ruin our season," because usually our team is 11-5. And
I remember like 98 was like fucking like 15-1 Vikings, and then like the Bears had like Eric Kramer and like fucking I don't even know who they had at running back. It just wasn't good. Like, and then things shifted. Then Urlacher comes over. Then the Vikings are horrible. We got like Tavares Jackson and Joe Webb and shit.
That 15-1 Vikings team absolutely blew our doors off in the playoffs, though. The Cardinals.
Oh,
that's the year we beat in Dallas. We knocked off Dallas in Dallas, and then went into Mini. And I feel like that was Randy. Was that Randy Moss's first year? I think that might have.
Yeah. Well, if it was 99, I think it was 98. So because 99, I think they were not as good. I think it was his first year.
Because they popped off that rookie year. He just came out and that offense was unreal. Yeah. Yep. I remember that playoff game. I knew we were going to get our asses beat by you. It happened.
Yeah. That was, I can say then that was when like they just magically made it. You knew the team over like that Warriors team that beat the Mavericks back in the day. Like,
the 8 seed.
Yeah. Been in the playoffs, but like they were just so hype at the time. They got it, and then they faced competition and get smoked.
We got in because Kwame Lassiter had 4 INTs, and then I think it was like our kicker Chris Jackie hit like a game winner at the end. And I remember that was back then where if Cardinal games weren't sold out, which they were never really sold out, so they would only air on the radio. So you couldn't watch the Cardinals on TV. So I remember listening to that game on the radio at my parents' house growing up. On the couch, like, do not fuck up this kick. Do not fuck up this kick. It's good. Like, we're going. But I didn't even see it till highlights later on, It's just kind of how you grew up as a Cardinal fan, man. In the 90s, you either went to the games or you did not watch it. I just listened to it on the radio. Or if, like, the Cowboys came to town, then there would be, like, a sellout. But other than that, if you didn't go to the games, you weren't watching, Cardinals playing in front of 20,000 people at Sun Devil Stadium.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
He actually, funny story about that. Mine and his first Cardinals game was Emmitt Smith's first game as a Cardinal.
Okay.
When he came over from the Cowboys, and that was a crazy game.
I remember that offseason, ESPN did a Madden simulation or whatever game was big at the time. I think it was still Madden, like 01 or something like that, or 03 or whatever the hell it was. And they had the Cardinals simming it to win the Super Bowl. So it was like right after we signed Emmitt Smith. So everyone was like, optimistic, kind of like, oh shit, Emmitt Smith is here. Like I remember because I was probably in middle school or something. So that's kind of like the thing, like, oh, you see ESPN simmed us to win. Like, oh, Emmitt Smith's going to be the big deal, man. Emmitt Smith is here. And then soon enough that I realized we're just a retirement home, man. So
Oh, terrible. Yeah, I liken that. We talked about this before. We liken that signing to Shaquille O'Neal when he came to Phoenix. I mean,
right.
just way past when he should have showed up.
Yep.
That's
Lot.
that's what the Cardinals did, and it kind of it worked with Warner and Edger and James. Like
Yeah.
they both came over. I'm like, oh god, like why? And then they just were good somehow. But the offense was clicking. I mean, Bolden, Fitzgerald, like I think they had
Yeah.
Steve Preston.
wasn't it Todd Heap here at the time or somebody like had a good tight end. It was nice. Or not he. I don't know. I was another ASU tight end. I thought they brought.
I'm trying to
through.
remember. So I know Steve Preston was on that team, but you know who the tight end was?
I think he played in Baltimore.
No, I think the tight end might have been like. Why am I thinking like Leonard Pope or something? I don't know if we had an eight.
That might have been him. That
It might have
might
been
be him.
But like that was like the Todd Haley offense, so it was like Todd Haley and Kurt Warner. Like that was a good combo. Like I am of the belief that Ken Wisenhunt got carried by Todd Haley and Kurt Warner. And if Kurt Warner had friggin' Bruce Arians as his coach, watch out. But yeah, no, I'm just as
Bruce
a
was on the Pittsburgh sideline that year. Fuck that. He was didn't he get the W? Or was he already in the Colts?
No, he was. Yeah, he was with the Steelers. Yeah. He wasn't there. Yeah. That's heartbreaking. I didn't think we'd talk about that game, the Super Bowl game.
Oh, that it always
hey, beer. So.
Yep.
God. So, Huntley, Tyler Huntley against Joe Burrow. 41 degrees. Bengals by 10.
I
41
pumped that.
Total.
Bengals, man. Bengals covered.
Yeah.
There's just something about Joe Burrow, man, that you won't catch me picking against him very often. You know, you're going against Huntley, and even if Lamar is playing, I'm still going, Joe Burrow, and they just feel like a team. You know, you lose the Super Bowl like that, you come back. They started off kind of slow. I think Joe had appendicitis or something to start the year. They started off kind of slow and then just kicked it into gear, and they look like one of the best teams in the NFL for going on over a full calendar year now. So I'm definitely riding with the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm looking at they finished 12-4, 6-1 at home after I think they were like 5-4 at one point or something. They're like
something like that. Yeah.
Like they were not really a great looking team.
Mm-hmm.
And Chase went down for a little bit. Hayden Hurst stepped up. Boyd stepped up. They kept winning. That's a team I just don't want to bet against. I feel like I still have them in the back of my mind as far as I'm just so on the Chiefs and Bills right now. But just I got to talk myself out of not sleeping on the Bengals. They've been there before. Like they were just there last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's never typically see the loser of the Super Bowl come back stronger or even make the Super Bowl the next year. Like the winners aren't even in the playoffs. They got smacked.
Right.
It's like it's weird to see, and for that reason, like you just can't count them out. Thinking about the Bengals, I think that's an easy cover for sure. I think Joe's gonna just throw that all over the place. 41 at 6:15 is the kickoff for us out here, but 41 degrees and a 41 total. Mason, anything different you got there, or were you just running Bengals?
No, yeah. I mean, it's a shame that Baltimore isn't healthy. I think this could have been a game that would have been a huge opportunity for Lamar Jackson going into a pivotal offseason. I think, both sides of the fan bases would have really savored this game. I mean, this could have been huge, but you take out Lamar Jackson, you put in Tyler Huntley. I think he's done a great job in fill-in duty in several occasions. Certainly played better than what he was projected to out of Utah, but Mac and several others familiar with his time in the conference. But I'm going to go Cincinnati probably 27, Baltimore 10. I just don't think they have enough firepower here. And you really have to credit Cincinnati's coaching staff. This is a young team. And what you said, Carrington, you so often see a young team, especially after a Super Bowl year, come out and kind of look like the last year was an aberration. And a lot of people talked about that this offseason. Well, I expected Bengals to take a step back, or, well, I expect the Bengals to come out and flop. They've done just the opposite. So credit Zach at the head coaching spot over there and the entire staff really for keeping this team in line.
I think for me, my big prop, Jamar Chase, they're throwing to him every time. Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. I would even go as far as saying Jamar Chase first touchdown.
You know what that means?
Ooh.
You know what that means? Tyler Boyd's going to get it. Go ahead and flush your money
Yeah,
right
whoever
now.
you bet on, pick the opposite. Like that's the logic behind that. Okay, so probably I would say after looking at all these games, even though we talked about Chargers and Jacksonville, most of America is going to be on the Monday night game, and it's because it's America's team, Jerry and the boys, going to the pirate ship against the GOAT, Tom Brady. Dallas favored by a field goal, 46 total, 68 and clear, totally clear, perfect weather. Tom Brady never lost against the Cowboys. After they showed that stat, now I'm like, fuck. Like I just feel like the Cowboys
He's never lost to the Cowboys ever.
never lost to the Cowboys. So, yeah, he's 7-0 against the Cowboys, which is crazy.
I know the Cardinals had a good record against them too. I think they were going to have a winning record. Then before this season, then of course we lost to Tampa. That game though, it's like that same scenario with San Diego. Who knows with Jerry Jones if they get humiliated and lose to the Buccaneers? Is Jerry Jones going to pull the rug out under McCarthy and go all in on Sean Payton? I know that's probably not probably not likely, but you never know. So with that being said, I still think Tom Brady is going to keep it undefeated against them. Find a way. Dak Prescott's thrown how many interceptions since he came back, and I think he leads the league in INTs, and he missed a few games. So that Buccaneers defense, if they're playing together and well, they're going to be a tough team to put points up on the board against. So I think I'm going to go Bucks money line on that one. You said Cowboys are favored by a couple, 2 or 3.
Yeah, 3. It's 2.5, 46 total.
I think
a
Tampa
good
Bay
money
money line. Yeah, even though I would like to see Dallas win, just because I guarantee Mike McCarthy probably you'd think at least another year and keep him away from Sean Payton, because that's kind of the mindset I'm in right now. I'm all 100% all in on Sean Payton. DeMarco Ryan doesn't move me as a Cardinal fan. I saw one of the 49ers reporters said that Anthony Lynn would be his OC possibly. No, thank you. He got
yeah.
he was a coach when Justin Herbert was there. They got rid of him because they didn't think he could, fulfill, Herbert. So that's just not the route I would want to go, no matter how good DeMarco Ryans is. Hopefully the Cowboys can win this game, but I am going to pick the Buccaneers if I have to put my money on it.
Right. Okay. We'll move over to Mason for this one. What do you got next? Cowboys going to Tampa Bay. Best weather by far the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm excited for this Monday night game. I actually can't think of a Monday night football game I really cared about in a long time in the back half of the season. I think there's a lot of underwhelming matchups. And I'm not a big Cowboys guy. I laugh at people that say they're going to win the Super Bowl. That this is our year crowd and this, that, and the other. But I am going to take Dallas to win this game. I don't know that a lot of people are, even though they're favored. I think a lot of people see the value, especially as bettors, in taking a Bucks money line or a Bucks plus 3.5. But to me, Tampa Bay's offense, it just hasn't worked itself out. And yes, I do think Tom Brady can turn on a switch, but I don't think an entire offense can flip a switch. This entire offense isn't Tom Brady. They've been dysfunctional all year. The wide receiving core has been up and down. The run game at times has disappeared. I just haven't seen enough from them to make me feel confident that they are ready to suddenly gel on a random Monday night and just play crisp football. And I think Dallas's defense disrupts it further. I think Dak Prescott has a big game, and the Cowboys advance. And I'm going to go Cowboys by 10 in this one. This is a risky call, but I'm going to go Cowboys 31, Tampa Bay 21.
Okay, a little bit of split there. I'm 50-50 on this game, but due to what I saw before the season playing out was Buccaneers getting in as a low seed with a bad record and having an easy path to the Super Bowl. I kind of still see that, but here's the issue. The X factor in this game is going to be Micah Parsons. How well do the Buccaneers block Micah Parsons? Who do they have moving to watch where he is? Because he's coming every time. And Tom Brady's older and slower than ever. Of course, he's still got a rocket arm. He's still got the stars around him. But that line's been beat up. And if the offense isn't clicking and he's getting pressure on him, the Cowboys can slow them down for sure. But then it's on Dak. Can Dak perform? We know the Buccaneers defense is pretty good. They're up and down, just like the Cowboys defense, up and down. And Dak Prescott's played really bad. I'm really tossed up on this game, but at the end of the day, I'm going Buccaneers money line. I just believe in Tom Brady more than the entire Cowboys organization. I think to end the season, we can't really look at that week 18 because they pulled everybody after leading. But going back to week 17, Mike Evans had 3 touchdowns. Tom Brady looked phenomenal. Everybody looked great. They blew everybody out. I think that's the team we're going to see in this game. I think Dak does play better. I do expect this game to hit the over, but I'm going to take Buccaneers on this one, winning 30-27. Yep.
Should be
And
fun.
I'll have to say Mike Evans continues that chemistry from week 17. Mike Evans anytime touchdown for me on that one. Yep.
I like that. I like the touchdown call.
For sure. One thing I wanted to touch on, because we talked about the Ravens and the injury, but it's something I tweeted earlier today. History typically shows when a quarterback or a star talented player is due for a new contract, you don't give it to them, they get injured. They typically go somewhere else. How do you guys feel about Lamar Jackson? Is this the end for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, or is he going to re-up on a big contract?
Make it quick. I think he's gone. I think the writing's kind of been on the wall. They still haven't put the pieces around him offensively. Wide receiver room. I mean, just to go back even the last couple of years, Ravens fans are happy to get rid of Marquise Brown as a true number one. But it's like, okay, now who do you guys have? Like, he was kind of forced into being a wide receiver one. So I just think from that kind of perspective with Lamar Jackson, the way he's kind of handled this whole process, he seems pretty stubborn, but it is a good organization. So, maybe they can talk him into it. But I get the feeling he's looking for try to get as much money as he can. I mean, you only play this game for, a short time in a lifespan. So you might as well get as much money as you can if you have no ties to that city, that organization. I mean, if you feel like they haven't put the best product around you, I wouldn't be surprised to see him land somewhere else next year. And there are definitely plenty of opportunities where, if he wants to go to the Jets or something like that, or I feel like there are a handful of other teams out there where you put him on there and you put him on the Lions. I'm not a huge Lions fan, but I think they kind of opened some eyes this year, and Jared Goff wasn't horrible. But if you could get someone else to kind of move that offense along as well and kind of have that leader everyone can buy into, I think that, he needs to go somewhere that is going to put the weapons around him and make that the focal point, because I just don't think the Ravens have done that as good as they have and as consistent as they make the playoffs. That team is definitely not at a lack of holes.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm big on Lamar being gone. I think the writing was on the wall. Like you said, when they didn't give him the contract, he continued to tweet about it, hold up fan signs about it, and then plays the whole season 100% for them and then gets injured towards the end. I think he's gone. In terms of weapons, I'm going to paint an extremely dangerous scenario. Lamar Jackson to Miami, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., stats. Tua's had concussion problems. We know Skyler's not the guy. I think Miami's got to pull on this. They got to throw the bag. Miami's turning their franchise around. You have all the talent there right now. Everybody's in their prime. Don't let it slip. I just feel like he's good, don't get me wrong, but he's extremely fragile. He's small. He's not as strong. You can't have 3 concussions in a year. And I worry about him when he's 40, 50 years old. That's not good for your health. I would be leaning towards backup or retiring if I was him, because he's just been destroyed his entire career. I think that makes the most decision. I think Derek Carr is going to go to the Colts. That's my next thing. I was going to ask you guys.
Sorry,
Where do you
Colts
think,
fans.
where do you think Derek
Oh,
Carr
man.
goes? But I think Derek Carr ends up in the Colts. I think they're going to throw him a lot of money. I also think the Colts go after Cliff Kingsbury as an alternate.
This is getting worse and worse for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Man.
So what do you guys think there? Derek Carr being the next quarterback that's for sure on the move, as he posted today. Where do you guys see him landing?
I think that just makes sense. Jim Irsay is looking to bring in anybody who's breathing, who has made a handful of, a good amount of starts in his career as a quarterback. So, I mean, to go from what they went with Matt Ryan, last year Wentz, year before that Phillip Rivers, it just makes sense to go Derek Carr. So, I think that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I see it happening as well. It's pretty likely. I do think it's less likely Cliff comes on in Indianapolis. There might be a few teams that are willing to take a risk on him, but I think Derek Carr's put together a big enough body of work to where people could say, and I laughed at that comment, but he's an above average quarterback in my mind. I don't think he is a guy that I would bring onto the roster if I'm like, hey, I want to build a sure thing Super Bowl winning team. I mean, I think he is above average, but he would have to be in the right system. He needs a lot of pass protection. He kind of it's kind of one of those situations where when Nick Foles won that ring in Philadelphia 4 or 5 years back, it was because he was in the perfect offense. The pass protection was 5 stars. The receivers were excellent, and that's what Derek Carr to me has to be in to win at a high level. At Oakland and slash Las Vegas, they just never did that.
Right. Yeah. When I watched Derek Carr play, I would say above average. I would put him in that Matt Hasselbeck, Matt Schwab. Like he's a guy.
Matt Schwab. I forgot all about
he can
that.
hold down the franchise, but like I don't think he's going to get you a Super Bowl. He can be there for many, many years. Jake Delhomme, another guy, pretty good, might make a Pro Bowl, but just not going to be a Super Bowl quarterback. So, now probably the biggest one, we'll close out on this, big Arizona headlines. Obviously, we'll talk about the coaching and then DeAndre Hopkins. Where do we think DeAndre Hopkins is going to go? Does it even make sense for the Cardinals to trade him? It sounds like they're just going to trade him and they're rebuilding this whole thing. So we'll start with Mac. Coaching, we heard you're all in on Sean Payton and then DeAndre Hopkins. So give us your thoughts on the coaching positions and then what we do with Hopkins.
Yeah, so what I was kind of saying earlier, we were talking about, I forget what team we were talking about, but you only have so many years to get this thing right. You really had how many years with DeAndre Hopkins? 2 years with DeAndre Hopkins, 3 years with DeAndre Hopkins, I guess. But if he wants out, how many guys, ask for a trade? And that's likelihood. We don't know that he asked for a trade. But it sounds more and more like Kyler just got his surgery, so it sounds like he's probably going to be out, maybe as much as the midway point next year. So if DeAndre Hopkins wants to win a ring, that he leaves, you're not going to replace him just with another guy. And now you're going to move Marquise Brown to your number one wide receiver spot, exactly where he was with the Ravens. And we saw how that did not work out as well. So it's just frustrating. I think really the only man that can save this franchise is Sean Payton. I truly believe that. I mean, you saw the stat Adam Schefter put out. No Cardinal coach has ever lasted more than 6 years in a 103-year franchise, or however long it's been. 6 years is the longest. And they were talking about Vance Joseph being a stopgap. Every fucking quarterback or coach that's come here has been a stopgap. Yeah. I'm sick of it. You only have so many years where Kyler Murray is going to be in his prime peak athlete with his legs. You're going to miss another half a year this next year, entering year 5. That's why they had to move on from Cliff Kingsbury. You got through 4 years, and we have not seen that progression with Kyler that you really need to see at this point, entering year 5, for him to go from year 3, the best deep ball passer in the league, to year 4, being ranked the worst deep ball passer in the league. I don't care how bad your offensive line is, when you still have some of the weapons that we did at points in time. At least Hollywood is out there. There was something mechanically wrong that was flawed from Kyler, whether it was the offensive line got to his head, whether it was Cliff not pushing him to be more of a traditional offense. Because we heard Sean Payton come out and say he would love to see Kyler under center a little bit more of a run game, get a little just take a little pressure off his hands. And we did not see Kyler under center at all, to the point to where it's 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, and every other team you just line up behind center and you lean forward if you're a quarterback, and it just seems so simple, And then we come here and it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, deep fucking pass. Okay, 4th and 1, we're gonna do a little bootleg waggle. Like, no, that's just not how football is won in the NFL. And really, Kyler's athleticism got him to a point to make him be the number 1 pick in the draft. But when you come to the NFL and you're not a big guy to begin with, and you are a running quarterback, he needs to be challenged to take his game even to another level. And we were seeing reports at the end of the year, people were missing practices. The Cardinals were the worst penalized team in the NFL this year. And that's just, there's only so much you can be with a player's coach. And for Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think he had that power in the locker room to begin with. I mean, we saw every time major news broke, it happened after Cliff Kingsbury's press conference. So he didn't have to handle any of the tough questions until that next week. And then by then, that's water under the bridge. And you cannot run a franchise like that where your head coach is basically, has no pull, and the players know it. So I don't know who comes in here. I mentioned DeMarco Ryan is Cardinals got accepted for an interview or requested an interview with him. And like I said, if Anthony Lynn is his OC, no fucking thank you. Anthony Lynn's not getting in Kyler's ear and making him to be the type of quarterback that this organization needs a $230 million franchise player to be. I'm sorry. And if you're going to eat $30 million, $40 million between Cliff and Keim, if you're Michael Bidwell, you might as well fucking go all in and see what Sean Payton can bring, because from all reports, it sounds like he's interested. And as a Cardinal fan, it does feel like it is a turning point in this franchise almost every offseason. But we're right here, right now. The Cardinals are the one team where Sean Payton can really handpick his GM. And if you're Sean Payton, I mean, that could go a long way if, he gets on board with Michael Bidwell. Michael Bidwell gets on board with that because this franchise needs a culture shock to it. I feel like somebody has to come through that door and be able to look Kyler in the eye and say, you're not the best quarterback. You're not the quarterback right now to be able to win a Super Bowl, but I can make you that type of quarterback. Look what I did with Drew Brees. And so I think he's really the only guy who has that Super Bowl pedigree who can come in here and from day one change the culture, a literal culture shock. So I don't, I saw people saying, "Oh, don't get your hopes up too high for Sean Payton. You're just gonna be let down." Who the fuck cares? We're Cardinal fans. We get let down every fucking year. Let me dream. Let us dream right now. And if we get let down, who gives a fuck? Because then, a week later, it's the Cardinals. Some other crazy news is going to happen. We're going to be let down again. Something else is going to happen. So it's like you might as well go big. And for the people who don't believe in Sean Payton, it just kind of blows my mind on what do you think is the most important thing for this franchise. And to me, bringing in a defensive coach to be the head coach and then bringing in an OC who maybe has never been an OC before or he doesn't have a Super Bowl pedigree. I don't know how that gets into Kyler's ear and pushes him to be the greatest that he can up to his ability. Because to me, that leadership falls from the top down and it goes owner, GM, head coach, quarterback right there. The Cardinals had a hell of fucking leadership with JJ Watt, Budda Baker. If there were a game or play here or there where guys looked like it took off, you just look at Budda Baker playing through a high ankle sprain or JJ Watt, busting his ass here and finishing his last season in the NFL with the Cardinals as has been the 10th best single season sack record for the Cardinals in his last year. You just see that playing on the field. But they can only do so much. If you're the quarterback and you're a leader of men, you have to be your leader has to be that guy in your ear as well. And for Kyler, I think that's the biggest thing right now is for him to keep developing, keep growing, and for him not to be content because it seems like every week we hear reports and more smoke circulating. We just saw a report from Mike Silver, which I don't lay too much credence to Mike Silver, but it's still another report that he said a Cardinals veteran, this is yesterday, said the Cardinals created a monster when they paid Kyler Murray. And you know what? That kind of sounds similar to when the reports were that Larry Fitzgerald felt that the Cardinals, rolled out the red carpet for Kyler before he even played a game. So there's just so many reports and so much, bullshit going around that I don't think it's going to stop unless you can bring in a guy who can actually show Kyler how to lead and how to win, be a leader of men and to grow. And to me, that's Sean Payton. And I would be disappointed to all hell if we get away from Cliff and you fire Cliff and all of a sudden I saw Ben Albright say it's either Vance Joseph or Sean Payton. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Those are our two options.
That's
Boom or bust.
I hope that they look around and outside. I mean, I didn't believe Harbaugh was going to leave Michigan. I didn't even think he would be a good fit here. But yeah, you can't just be like Sean Payton, or if that doesn't work out, like
right, a stopgap.
Joseph,
no,
like do another waste 2 or 3 years of people's prime. So best case scenario, I mean, Sean Payton comes here. Cardinals got the 3rd pick in the draft. Who do you think the Cardinals are taking at number 3? What would you take at number 3? Because I'm thinking like you got to go running back or receiver. James Conner's not really. I mean, I like James Conner a lot, but Cliff didn't utilize him properly. I feel like he never gave him the ball enough. And in today's game, you got to have a 2-back system. And let's be honest, Hopkins is gone. Marquise Brown's not a number 1. It's going to be a situation with like Mason and the Bears. Mooney was forced to be a number 1 when he's a 2, maybe a 3. You just can't survive by those types of things. And to the Hopkins thing, I think the Bears have one of the best chances to land DeAndre Hopkins. They got all this cap space.
They should do it for Justin Fields too. Give him something. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, but I won't go on this too much because we'll answer. You want Mac to answer that question there on the draft, but yeah, I mean, I think unless the Chicago Bears on their end say no to exploring DeAndre Hopkins, I think it's almost 90% sure he is a Bear because it fits what they need. They can pay him the money. They have $118 million in cap. Everybody knows Justin Fields is. 4 years from now, he's going to be feeling like Lamar Jackson if you have him throw into future insurance agents who really aren't even starting NFL players for this long. So, yeah, I think they have a big chance. But, yeah, what do you think the Cardinals do with that number 3 spot?
I think it's kind of a weird spot because you're probably not going to go up and you're not going to take a wide receiver or running back probably that high. Just take a look at the mock drafts. So you're either looking at probably Will Anderson, that edge rusher, or Jalen Carter. And I've been imploring the Cardinals to just build the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. Like, look at the 49ers. That's kind of their recipe right there. They could win with a QB3 because they're not – he doesn't have a shitty O-line in front of him, just lack of a better words, And then you have a defense that's always going to keep you in games for the most part. So if you have that, and look at the Cardinals. What's the Cardinals' biggest downfall this year? Was their offensive line? And I don't think that was any question about it. When you rotate out 10 different starting units up front, so for me, I'm all for building the trenches up, right? But if DeAndre Hopkins is gone, I think you have to take a long, hard look at trading back from that 3rd spot and see who might be interested. And I know I've been my dream scenario would be the Lions falling in love with someone because they have pick number 6 and 17 or 6 and 18, I believe. So if you could trade back and they jump up to 3 and you could get 2 first-rounders right there. Let's say you get a late first for D-Hop and early second maybe for D-Hop. Then you're accumulating a lot of picks right there. And then that's where you could probably snag, let's say you trade back to 6, you probably snag the best wide receiver in the draft right there. And then you still accumulated some inventory and some assets. So I think that's the way I would look. Until I haven't spent too much time on the draft, but I will start going over guys who are kind of mocked to be around the top 10, top 15 to kind of get some ideas on who I think could jump up into the top 5 to make it a close choice for whoever the next GM is, or if we do trade back. But there are a lot of options right there. And I do think if we are moving on from DeAndre Hopkins, the best plan of attack, if this is a rebuild, would be to move back a few spots, and if you can garner a few more picks, because a top three pick is premium. Teams will salivate for that. So you just need
Facts.
one dumbass team to trade. What is the 49ers traded 3 first round picks to get Trey Lance?
Yeah,
I
that
believe
worked out.
yeah, but to see their culture and the way they've built that team, they're still able to win. A worse franchise like the Cardinals, you miss out on you lose 3 picks for that, you're not winning. So
Yeah, because
so I know a lot of fans wanted to emulate the Rams last year. Go all in, no matter what, go all in. You win a Super Bowl, it's worth it. True. But I think the thing that wins probably more often, is what the 49ers are doing. You build up that offensive line, that defensive line, that front seven. You could put any quarterback back there who has NFL capabilities, and they're not getting rushed all the time, pressured all the time. So I think if we do stay at 3, I wouldn't mind fixing the trenches with that, Jalen Carter or Will Anderson if they're there. But I mean, if this is a true rebuild where you are moving DeAndre Hopkins and you do not have a number 1 to back him up, you might as well move back, get some picks, and take your chances there, when you can you could draft a wide receiver, and then with one of those other picks, you could draft a running back, either late first or early second, whatever the case may be, if that's the route you wanted to go. Because this team does have a lot of holes, and I don't think one pick at number 3 is really going to save the day, especially as a rookie coming into this situation. So there are so many ways to go about it, which I think should be intriguing for Sean Payton. But if Michael Bidwell's out here already entertaining offers for DeAndre Hopkins when we don't have a GM and head coach, I wonder how that makes the job seem from the outside. It's like, well, you don't have nobody here who's making decisions, and Michael Bidwell was just on the radio saying, "Oh no, I don't make those type of transaction decisions. I like being in and knowing what our guys are doing and what's going wrong with our team, but I don't make these transactional decisions." And then the next day it comes out that we're putting D Hop on the trading block. So it does all start at the top, and I do hope Michael Bidwell can just hire the right football minds and just stay the fuck out of it for once, please. That's just fingers crossed, because I think Michael Bidwell has looked worse over the past year, from even just putting the studying addendum into the Kyler's contract and then immediately removing it. That's just a bad look,
Oh
and
yeah,
that
stand
came
on
from the
something.
owner. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't have that culture in the locker room, who the fuck's going to respect you from a player standpoint down, or up? Excuse me. But so it's just. It starts at the top. It starts with Michael Bidwell. And I like to think, with him eating about $40 million in Kingsbury and Kimes contracts, that he's willing to go all in right now for Sean Payton and get it done, no matter what the case may be, because his biggest investment is Kyler Murray. And I don't believe Kyler Murray will just listen to any guy who you bring in as an OC. You're going to need somebody with a pedigree, someone who he can look at his Super Bowl rings, look at his accomplishments in the NFL, and demand the attention from day one. So it's going to be a
100%.
crazy, crazy off season, but yeah, it's never ending.
I'm excited for this offseason. I think a lot of change is afoot, in the NFL for several old organizations, and you look across the league, shakeups are coming. I mean, not just in Arizona, not just with the teams we like, but Green Bay as well. There's a lot of teams that they need to
Oh,
win
yeah,
big this
that's
offseason.
yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we could have very well seen Aaron Rodgers last game, and then of course, yeah, the Bears. We'll end it here with Mason. First round draft pick, number 1 overall for the first time. I think they said since 1947. Maybe even been a little before. I know it was a long, long time ago. Who do you like? Is there any chatter with the Bears who they're taking number 1, or is it still too early? I don't even start paying attention to the draft till after the Super Bowl, just
Right.
because I can pace myself properly and then kind of have something to occupy my mind with football wise while I research the mock drafts. But Chicago Bears, number 1 overall, first pick for the first time in a long time, 80 something years.
Yeah, never seen this in my lifetime. I think the lowest pick I saw was number 3 when we drafted Mitch Trubisky. which turned out to be a pretty big fizzle outside of his Nickelodeon Player of the Game accolade that he got. But I think to me it's a no-brainer, and I don't know if it's the same for General Manager Ryan Poles, but for me, you go right after Will Anderson. There's nothing to think about. Chicago hasn't had a good pass rush in years. You get rid of Roquan Smith, the leader on that defense. So now you not only need a pass rusher, you need a leader. You have to get back to what make this franchise a great franchise, and that's defense. So to me, I go straight to Will Anderson. I don't even let the clock wind down. In fact, the minute the draft starts, I'm walking to the mic. But it is worth noting that as much as I like Justin Fields and as much as I think he can and will be successful with actual starting receivers at his disposal, Ryan Poles, you have to keep in mind that Justin Fields was not Ryan Poles' selection. He got this job when Justin Fields was already in the quarterback spot. That was Matt Nagy's decision. That was the previous general manager, Ryan Pace's decision. So Ryan Poles may evaluate every situation. They may consider moving on from Justin Fields. They might trade that pick for immediate impact players to pair with Fields. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. It is absolutely possible. But one thing I know that's not possible, and I'll end with this. I saw somebody on Twitter say yesterday they think the Bears should draft Stetson Bennett and turn Justin Fields into a running back. And I almost had a fucking seizure. So that is definitely not the move. Justin has his flaws, but he's not a running back. Let's kill that now. So we'll see. But yeah, Anderson all day.
Yeah, good pick. I mean, it's smart to go when you're that high. It's smart to go defense or O-line, just to me, because those guys are the staple guys. When you're in the top 3 and you pick a good defender or a good offensive lineman, they're usually going to stick around. It's when you gamble on a quarterback or a receiver, that's when things start getting dicey, because that high in the draft, a non-skill position, they're pretty much going to work out. Like the D ends, they're usually pretty good. The offensive linemen, they're usually pretty good.
Right.
I would just say avoid the quarter. I mean, I don't think, to me, there's no quarterback that jumps out to me that's just going to be better than Justin Fields putting them in.
Not with those receivers, not with that O-line. I mean, it could be the same problem.
Yeah. And like it doesn't, it just doesn't make sense to me. I think Fields has the arm and the athleticism to be a quarterback in this league. Give him another season or two. If it's not working out, then you go ahead and move on. But yeah, it's going to be a big, interesting offseason. Saturday morning, we're ready for football. Wild card weekend.
Yes, sir.
I'm as excited as ever. Just finally here, the full season of podcasting and watching. And really, there's been some bad games this year. Like we were treated to a lot of bad football this year. I can say that, especially if you guys watch the Thursday night Amazon games. A lot of them were just
Jeff Bezos were half of those.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, looking forward to it. Excited that we got to have Mac on, and yeah, man, let's ready to kick the feet up and watch some wild card football. So,
yeah, definitely appreciate you guys for stopping by. You guys have a good night. We'll catch up. Like I said, we'll chop up some clips. I'll get some stuff going here and see what we got from the Cardinals fans on the hot takes, because we got draft season, head coach season, GM season right around the corner. So, thank you guys for stopping by. Fun times await. We will see you next time on the show.
See you.
Have a good night.